Well, I'm delighted to have a little bit of time now with Rachel Hammond. Hi, Rachel.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Very well.
And we're talking to you today. You're down in London, you tell me,
Hmm.
in the big city,
A big city covered in blankets.
trying to keep warm. Yeah. But you do have a history in Lancashire, which some of us know about. Some of us know your mum and your dad and your family quite well. But for
Yeah.
those who don't, or those who need reminding, what are your links with Lancashire?
So my dad is Mark Hammond, and he was the Methodist minister at Thornton Methodist Church in Thornton, Cleveleys, for about, I want to say, 15 years. Basically, I my whole childhood, everything I remember is growing up in Lancashire, in Thornton. Yes,
Mm.
it's got a very special place in my heart.
Yeah. So you did all your schooling, and did you go to college as well?
So we left just before I went to college. So I did all of
Right.
my schooling, and then, but my middle brother Tom, he did all of his schooling in college, um, and then left when he went to uni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And you're coming up to Lancashire a
Hmm.
couple of times in the next couple of weeks to Lancaster and to Blackpool with a play that you've written. So what's the
Yeah.
play?
So the play is called Joshua brackets and me, close brackets. And it's a one woman show about being a sibling to someone who's autistic. So, if for those who don't know, my eldest brother Joseph is autistic. So it's just, yeah, it's about, you follow the character of Hannah, who is based on me, and you see her growing up from the age of 7 to 18 in Blackpool, um, with her family, and as she grows, her understanding of Joshua, who's based on my brother Joseph, grows too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So this is born out of your real life experience and set in Blackpool. That's great.
Yes.
And you have recently been in Edinburgh with it, so you've been touring with it, and you're coming up to Lancashire and other places. What's the experience been like sharing this baby of yours, this
Mm.
production of yours? What kind of reaction have you been having?
It's been amazing. It's I think the biggest reaction that sticks with me is people that come and really relate to it. Um, and it seems to touch a lot, like a huge variety of people who also have an autistic sibling, um, or or just people that have some experience of caring for a loved one, because that's sort of the biggest theme that comes throughout it, is that when you've in your family you have someone with an additional need, you do then end up taking on some kind of caring role. um yeah, and so the show explores that, so it's just been wonderful meeting a huge variety of people that relate to that in whatever way.
Mm. And tell us a bit about your background. You trained as an actor then?
Yeah, I trained as an actor musician. I went to drama school in London, a drama school called Mountview. And so the show's got music in it as well, because that's what I trained to do, was to be on stage acting, but also pick up a saxophone and play that.
And is it a lonely experience doing a one woman show, or are you finding that you're engaging with the audiences and you actually feel like you're not alone?
Yeah, no, it's not. I think the lonely part has been preparing for it, just being sat at my desk at home, and because I've produced it as well, so that's been the lonely part. But then actually, as soon as I'm out on the road, because the reaction from the audience is so warm, and you have these amazing conversations with people and get to hear about their lives, and compare and contrast your lives together. Yeah, it doesn't feel lonely once I'm out doing it.
Mm. And how tell us about the experience in Edinburgh. How many shows did you do? Because it's pretty grueling, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I did 26 shows in
Wow.
27 days. I had one day off. Yeah, it was hard, yeah, hard work, because obviously you do the show and then you have to go out and flyer to try and get an audience, because there's about 2,000 shows for people to pick from. Um, but I really loved it. Yeah, I quite like a bit of hard work anyway. So I think when I got back, I slept solidly for a week, but while I was there, it was great fun.
It was obviously a great opportunity. And I
Mm.
imagine that the process of writing it and then producing it and directing it yourself, has it helped you process some of what those childhood years in Lancashire were like for you and for your family?
Yeah, so I didn't direct it myself. There was a director called Lucy Jane Atkinson who was wonderful. And actually having other people come on board at that point, that was the bit that helped me process it the most, I think. Because I did the main bit of writing during lockdown when I'd moved back with my parents and Joe. And that was great. And we would have good chats and stuff. But then once I got it in the room with people that weren't from that experience and hadn't been with us growing up, because I was forced to articulate it in a way that they could understand. I think that's when the rubber hit the road in sort of, processing it all.
And how have mum and dad and your grandparents, how have family, has Joe been able to see it himself? And what do the family think of it?
Yeah, they all really love it, which is a relief. Yeah.
They've not cut you off or said, right, that's it.
I've not been banished. Joseph was the first person to read the final script.
Wow.
Because I did about 20 drafts. So he was the first person to read that. And he's known about it since I started writing it. At one point, he wanted it to be called My Play About My Autistic Brother Joseph. I just thought it was a bit too long a title. But yeah, so he really enjoyed reading it, and he managed to come and see it in London. And then my family, they've seen it quite a few times now, and really love it. There's been the odd awkward conversation because poetic license to make it into more of a theatrical story. Some characters have had to get the cut. So
yes, but it's based on your life, but it's clearly it's about different characters. Did you say Hannah?
Yeah, so I've changed the names because the majority of it is autobiographical, but we say it's semi-autobiographical because I did research with other families, and I've slotted in some stories from other families too. And I did cut out my dad because which was because for two reasons. One, because he's a Methodist minister and that could be a show on itself. And then also he, like, sadly, when you do research, a lot of families after a diagnosis, the parents don't stay together. So for it to be more universal to everyone who comes to see it, that seems to be the more powerful narrative. But yeah.
Well, I look forward to your next one woman show, which is about my Methodist minister dad and me. And I can give you some material for that if you want it, Rachel.
Brilliant. Sure. I've got a long list of people who've got material for me.
I bet you have. I bet you have. We would really like to encourage people to see you in Lancaster, and perhaps especially when you've got 2 nights in Blackpool. Can you remind us of the dates and where you're going to be?
Yeah, so in Lancaster, we're going to be at the Duke's Theatre on the 6th of October, Thursday the 6th of October at 7:30. And then in Blackpool, we're there on the 14th and 15th of October at the Grand Theatre at 7:45.
And we're hoping perhaps to get a little group to be there on the Friday night, and we could then do a bit of a Q&A and meet and greet afterwards. You've offered to do that, and you've done that in 1 or 2 venues, and that's been helpful, has it?
Yes, so if you come on the 14th, there'll be a Q&A after, and they've been wonderful because you can ask any questions you want, but also if there are other people in the audience who relate to it, you get to hear from them, which is always quite special.
And, you know, as a church community and the desire to be an inclusive and welcoming church community, one of our strap lines for our Transforming Lives and Communities is engaging all. So it's very important for us to understand what life is like for families with children with additional needs. What kind of themes would you say you explore in your play?
I mean, just the general idea of siblinghood is
Hmm.
huge in it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think, I don't know whether you could put it into one word, but that idea of just understanding each other's worlds, like that's a huge thing in it, that actually it starts with, the main focus is Hannah wanting to understand Joshua's world, and trying to, rather than forcing him to act the way that she would, like play the way she'd play, she sort of goes, okay, well, why do you play like that, and how can I understand you more? And by doing that, you actually also begin to understand every character's world, and you realize that actually every character in the story has their own things going on. And yeah, so that idea of like walking in each other's shoes for a bit and being curious about each other, which I don't know if anyone does the Lectio Divino on.
Hmm.
That's the whole thing this month, is that encouraging curiosity in the face of difference with one another. I think that's the biggest theme in the show, I'd say.
And this whole experience, I know for you, is woven into a life of faith, isn't it? And seeing
Yeah.
God in everyone and in
Mm,
everything. And hopefully this experience of traveling around with the show, you've got a sense that God's in it with you. And
yeah,
um,
definitely.
mm,
Yeah.
well, we're just thrilled that you're coming back to Lancashire.
Yeah, me
Um,
too. I'm so excited.
I will see you in Blackpool, and we'll
Great.
promote it around and try and get people. And undoubtedly, there'll be people who genuinely it will touch their own life experience and um, their own worlds.
Yeah.
So that's good. So in Lancaster next week, and then the week after, 2 nights in Blackpool.
Blackpool. Yeah.
We wish you all the best with it, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Yes. Thank you.